Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. John?
Here.
Caroline?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
Brad?
Here.
Okay, and is Tom coming in? or-
Tom's about 3 hours out yet.
Oh,
Driving
3
back
hours.
from down here, yes.
Okay.
Odds are he will not make it.
Okay.
Comments from the public? Yes, George.
You want me up here, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, who's the timekeeper?
I'll start the watch.
Okay, let's synchronize our watches. Now, okay, this is, my first comment is for, basically for the clerk. Did you know on April 18th, Cockle and Bauer went into the clerk's office at 9 o'clock at night. Cockle hacked a computer, which is illegal. And so the office and computer has been compromised. Accusing Patty of any wrongdoing is foolish. It makes you look petty and vindictive. Okay, and what was done is a misdemeanor under Wisconsin statute 943.70. That would be brief. You know.
I've not seen any police at my house.
Pardon me?
There have been no law enforcement officers at my house.
No, that probably, well, I can't talk to you now because I got 3 minutes afterwards we can.
Okay.
My next one is, where are my open records requests?
Are you asking me the question?
I might as well, you're there.
Okay. So your open records requests are on my docket to do, and I think the statute said as soon as practical. And as you can see right now from me being late to this meeting, that I'm doing the absolute best I can to take care of town business. And I have not deprioritized your request. It's just I have other priorities in front of that. But
Well,
they're still
that
on my.
night of the annual meeting, well, I don't think you weren't there, but the attorney said that it should be, I don't know what the term was, within a reasonable time.
Yep, as soon as
And
practical.
he even threw 2 weeks out there, so now this has been 2 months.
Sure. So Mr.
So-
Durfus, as soon as practical is
It's
what
George, I told you months before, Mr. Durfus was my dad.
Okay, please don't disrespect me.
I can't
I'm
understand,
trying
you gotta
to-
talk louder.
I'm trying to be respectful to you.
And I'm
Please-
respectful to you too, but like I told you, I'm George.
And I forgot. So, okay?
Can you talk faster, because I got 3 minutes here?
You asked me to respond. If you don't want me to respond,
Okay,
then
never
I'll
mind,
be
forget it,
quiet.
never mind.
But I will say, I'll add an extra
Well-
minute to you, but I want to respond to your first request. We did have a conversation with the Towns Association.
Is that my 3 minutes or
I
your 3
told you,
minutes?
I told you that I'm giving you your time back for my comment.
All right, knock yourself out.
Okay, so Rodney and I, the chairman and I, did have a conversation with the Towns Association and with our town attorney about John being given the authority by the chair to go and to reenact whatever was needed out of the clerk computer to get the information for the town to continue to do business. And the attorney and the Towns Association confirmed that Rodney had the authority to make that decision, and he authorized John to do it.
Doesn't make no difference, not according to the state statute. He was illegal to hack that computer.
He didn't.
Regardless of what Bauer said, according, and even that night of the annual meeting, the attorney, he hedged around and he hemmed and hawed, and he knew this was wrong. Plain and simple, he knew it was wrong. And no matter, you can sit there, he was off by 3 hours. If he'd have waited another 3 hours, then he'd have been okay. And that's the way it is. So, now we have a board member that we're supposed to trust, and he's a crook. He hacked his computer. I know he doesn't like the word hacked, so we'll say he illegally accessed the computer. So what the point I'm making is, don't blame Patty for bullshit that happens, okay? Because you don't know what them two did up in the office, All right, that's all I got on that one. The next one is, did you find the credit card that was missing that you accused Patty of taking?
I don't think I accused anyone.
Just to look at the video, ask Bruce for a copy.
I said it was not left in the office, it was not
Can I
returned.
answer my question? Did you find it?
No.
Really? Did you stop? Did you just cancel it?
We have taken care of the necessary actions.
Which is what?
The
What
question-
necessary actions? I mean, did you lose a credit card or a credit card is missing, don't you call the company and you stop it? Would that be the logical way to do it?
We have verified that there are no fraudulent transactions on the credit card.
There aren't any or there are?
There are not any fraudulent
Okay.
transactions on the credit
I'm
card.
hard of hearing. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You gotta speak up.
There are no fraudulent charges on the credit card. The credit card is assigned to multiple things for the town, the accounting software, as well as several other things. So canceling it would have had us to cancel everything else. So we have taken care of the necessary actions by confirming there's no fraud on the account and that it's only being used for town business. The credit card actually was in my name from 3 years ago. So it was never appropriately taken care of when I left 3 years ago. So for all reasonable purposes, the card is good. It's in my name, it's working, so it's good.
Who's got it? Where is it?
Mr. Jervis, I'm not having any more discussions with you, so do you have any more comments?
I won't have any more discussions with me. I'm just really curious, and I'm sure some of these other people should be if they ain't, on what happened to this credit card. I mean, if this thing is floating around out there, at any time it could be used. I mean, this is ridiculous the way, just the way you do this. To me, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Rob?
All right, never mind.
I'm serious.
I was hoping it would be a McMillan miracle.
George, enough.
Enough
Can we move
what?
on, please?
Enough.
Yes.
No, you, Second Amendment, or First Amendment, pal. Freedom of
No.
speech.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
The
want to
rules are
answer.
here. It's 3 minutes, one topic. We've allowed you to have.
I have,
3
my
minutes.
one topic is township business. That's my topic. And I'm gonna ask you, because you told me 2 months ago, because I didn't go to last month's meeting, you were gonna get me the statute from your attorney on how, what statute says you can limit me to 3 minutes or whatever and one topic. The 3-minute thing, probably yeah. The topic thing, nope, I don't think so. Now what, you were gonna get me the statute, remember you were really talking about it? Yeah, I'll give you that statute. Did you get it?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I've been busy doing other things.
You're what?
I've been busy doing other things for the township.
So me being a resident, and I'm obviously not a popular resident with this board, which really, really breaks my heart, you shove me off, to the back burner, same with her. That's wrong. I'm a taxpayer resident.
Rob, out of order.
The hell's the matter with you people? And this one topic stuff? Yeah, township business.
Okay, you can find another card.
Oh, my last comment. See, those freedom of
You're out
speech.
of order. I'm leaving.
Out of order. I got one comment yet. Freedom of speech. is
George is
limited.
over his 3 minutes,
He's
a
over.
lot of time.
He's
Well,
out.
he done.
Point of order,
Yeah, go hack a computer, pal.
point of order.
I want a cheeseburger and french fries and a Diet Mountain Dew.
Point of order.
Freedom of speech is limited to 3 minutes. Why are the meetings getting longer?
Because there's topics to be discussed, George.
In
I have
confidence.
open comments. I allow anyone on the board to talk. I allow most of the audience to talk at most times when they have comments that are pertinent to what's going on. And I feel that that's the way it should be operated. It should not be operated, okay, this is the subject.
Exactly. We're residents of this township. We're tax-paying residents. We should have a say. Every one of us that's in this room, if we got something to say, we should be able to say.
You do, you have.
And not be
3 minutes.
limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah,
That's
3
bullshit.
minutes.
Plain bullshit.
Excuse me, that's you being rude.
What?
You're being very rude.
Well, thank you. So are you.
No, I am not.
It-
I am not. Please, you're finished. Sit down.
Oh, no, I can't do that. I mean, you don't order me around. You tried that over at our house at one time, remember that?
George,
George.
I need a police officer here every time we have a meeting.
For what? Because he's asking questions and they can't answer them?
They can
That's
answer,
pathetic.
he's had his minutes.
It's still pathetic. I mean, you got a town credit card that's out there floating around and they can't say whether or not they have possession of it? That's
He
ridiculous.
said it was taken care of.
No,
Okay.
they didn't.
Next, please.
Order.
Yes, Gary.
Just remember, 3 minutes. Oh wait, that doesn't apply to it.
Gary Franz, 116451 Birch Tree Road. And the question I had was the one topic in 3 minutes. You know, like, what's the reasoning?
Bottom line, George goes off for 20 minutes plus and rambles on different subjects. We answer the subjects, he brings them up 3 months later.
Hey, I beg to differ
And
on
some of
that.
the stuff,
I've
yes,
asked you
some of the answers we've not come up with on some of the stuff. But some of the
Some,
stuff we
most of
have.
them. I've asked legitimate questions to you as the chairman, and you failed to answer. 9 times out of 10, you failed to answer, and that's wrong.
Gary, this is your time.
I mean, there's times when, you know, a citizen may have more than one item he wishes to bring up that night. In 3 minutes, some things may be enough time to discuss something, sometimes not. But I don't think
The other thing that can be done.
at
Gary,
all times that, you know, one topic is appropriate.
Basically, Gary, the other thing that can be done also is a phone can be picked up to me and say, hey, I have a topic of discussion that we need to discuss tonight. There is one on the docket later on that the individual came up to me and asked if he could have more time, and he wanted the board to be able to make a decision or to at least talk and discuss on it, and it is on there. It's Red Hawk Lane. So there is, I mean, when you have more that's in it that's substantial, you can do that. I mean, this is stuff that's off the cuff saying, hey, there's a pothole over here, or there's this, or we'd like you to look into that. It's for the quick stuff. Because we are trying to make our meetings a little bit shorter, and that's the place that we can do it.
And really, if there's concerns that you don't need to leave them pile up until the board meeting. You know, we all have phones, you can contact us and try to get some things addressed. You know, we're trying to limit the length of these meetings, we're going 3 hours some nights.
Well, I think I've been here until midnight.
I don't doubt that, but we shouldn't have to be here that long. We should be able to conduct the town business in a timely manner, and I think that's the point of it. And we'd like to get some of these things earlier so we can address them and be prepared to answer them rather than get them dropped on us at the last minute. I think that's part of it. I'm not speaking for everybody in every situation, but in general.
Okay, guess we got an answer to it, not that I agree with it. Thank you.
Next. Yes.
I will walk through the talk. So, ladies and gentlemen of the town of McMillan, this will be my last board meeting, so sorry about that. You guys can time me if you'd like. But I just wanted, I'm not planning on speaking, I don't like speaking in front of publics, but I feel like it's important for you all to know how the office was left. And I had resigned actually from my position in the town of Cleveland, and I think 2 days before my end of my term, I got a call from the board to come back and help because both positions, clerk and treasurer, were left without anyone. They just up and left, no notice. I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just stating factual information here. So I came in, I have done the very best I could do. I never promised to work the 30 hours a week, I've not been able to. But what I did promise is to take care of priorities that needed to be taken care of, to pay the bills that needed to be taken care of. And you will see, one of the bills that I had to pay that I just got the information this afternoon on, we paid a $1,600 late fee because nobody left me information on what to
Was
do with
that
it.
Pioneer
It
Bank?
doesn't matter, I'm speaking. Well, you can ask me about that later. Okay, so I have done the very best, and I'm sorry, I'm not being disrespectful, I'm just trying to get my words out there. But I've done the very best job that I could possibly do. And we have an election in less than 30 days. It's my job at this point, as of this moment in time, to make sure that we can have a fair election, that everybody gets to vote. And so everything's not getting done, okay? But I can tell you that I've done everything ethically. I've done everything to help all of you. My goal has been to instill trust. And even tonight, I'm getting questioned on what I'm doing. Why I didn't send an agenda when I sent it to somebody else. I'm not doing anything against anybody in this town. I'm here to support all of you. I have never been chosen, people call it sides. I've supported every single one of you. We just had an election workers meeting at 5:30 today. A group of people, and we got business done. I was pleasant to everybody. Everybody worked together. So please quit attacking the clerk's office, quit attacking the treasurer, quit attacking the board. I can tell you these ladies and gentlemen are hardworking. There is nothing going on that shouldn't be going on, because I wouldn't be here if there was. So please trust them. They were elected to do work for you guys. Please trust the clerk. Please respect the clerk. Please help the clerk, because there's a lot of work. And if it wasn't for somebody stepping in, that $110,000, the second payment of ARPA, would not be in our bank account today. We would have lost it. So think about that.
Now, can I ask the question, is that the breather payment?
Yes.
And that was due in June, correct?
No, it was not due. I don't know when it was due. I just know that when I called today to try to get, the way I was notified was a late notice in the mail, and I called today to try to get the separation of interest and principal. They wouldn't give it to me because nobody told me about the account, and I wasn't on the account. I had to go through 3 people, that's why I'm late tonight. 3 people to get the information. And yes, it was on the breathers, and we paid $1,600
As a penalty.
as that.
Is there anyone else? Move on to approving minutes.
I move to
I'll second.
Who did the primary approval, please?
I did, John.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Let's vote on the town board meeting minutes for June 13th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Meeting minutes approved. Reports, plan commission, Dorothy.
Okay, at our last meeting, the plan commission approved with the recommendation for the town board to approve the rezone for the Doug and Julie Seaver property, which takes it from industrial to commercial. And the gentlemen are both here again tonight, which I'm glad to see. Then we also mostly turned it over to an open type format, because we had people from the county come down, ones that are new there, they've had a lot of turnover of the board. We discussed redoing the questionnaire for any zoning that we have to have with any subdivisions, whether it's a minor or a major, which there's a difference on how many. And Dave Decker, the surveyor for the county, his recommendation was to keep it as simple as possible. So that's kind of our goal. When we do have something to show, he would also like to see it, so that we kind of correspond between the county, the town board, and the plan commission.
Did you get your report from the plan commission this month? Patty? Sorry. Yeah.
Did I got the approved minutes from the May meeting.
Okay.
I didn't receive any draft minutes from
Okay.
this past meeting.
Dorothy, I'd like you to
When
look
I
in the
talked,
packet. Did you get a packet tonight?
yeah,
Did you see,
is this?
what I'm trying to explain to you is it keeps coming back to, you're thinking that we're supposed to be giving you, you're supposed to be giving us minutes.
No. What we've always done is we've always given an oral report. I contacted the Towns Association on this, I explained this last month. If you go as a whole board and request that we turn in unapproved minutes, glad to do it, but at this point, the Towns Association says, no, you don't have to do this.
And yes, you are correct. That's if I was asking for minutes. I'm not asking for minutes.
But
The
if
fire
you-
department has issued, have given us.
Even when you ask
this
for
is
a written report, it has to be a whole board. This is not just your decision and a clerk. It's the whole board. So, I said last month, if you want to put it on as an agenda item, I'll be happy to, whatever you like, but it has to be the whole board's decision, not just the chair and the clerk.
Because now, tonight, we're gonna be voting on a ordinance, or not ordinance, a
Rezone.
rezone. And for some of the members, this is the first time that they've heard of this rezone. That means there's no time for them to go out to do any research on it or
Your
anything.
clerk had that copy of that rezone. I had to have the county send me another one, because I had requested the clerk put one copy in our mailbox so I could get it to all of the plan members. Didn't happen. So our secretary, or our Bruce, made copies for all of us, so we had something to go off of. So you had it in your office before we ever did.
But we still don't, I guess the thing out of it is, and that's the reason we're asking for the report, and I will put it on the agenda for next month so
Okay,
that the
that's-
board can get it as a whole on.
But see, we.
But out of it is, we're not asking for minutes, we're just asking for the synopsis of what happened at the meeting, so we know ahead of time, so that if we need to do some fact finding on our own, to ask some questions and some stuff, so that we know when we come up here, that we can make an educated decision. And that's all we wanna do, and we wanna do it in a timely manner for these people. If you do not bring that information forward to us until tonight, right now, this instant, and that's the way we're gonna operate on all of this, you're gonna be forcing this board at times to say, we do not have enough information, we've not been able to research this, and we need to table it. That means it stretches it out another whole month. And the reason that your meeting had been changed in the past to what it is now is so that that information, after you guys have done your fact finding, after you've done all of your stuff, you can get this information to us. And that's all we're asking for. We're asking for the information. I don't care if Bruce said so-and-so, or you said so-and-so. It's for the basic, this person brought this in front of us, and we voted on it this way, and this is the way that we would prefer you to go, and this is the information that we used. That's what we're asking for. We're not asking for minutes.
Then we are going to have to make sure whoever you have as a clerk, make sure, because they get the information before we ever know about it, any reasons.
But they also
And that
told,
also, the clerk then needs to make a copy so that we know what we're looking at.
There has not been a full-time clerk in this position since April 15th.
But this is,
I'm sorry, there has not been a full-time clerk in this position since April 15th, Dorothy. So everybody is going to have to help conduct town business at this point. So I think printing this off and put it in your members' boxes and doing some type of correspondence can be helpful.
Tanya, I did send you an email and asked if
Yes.
you would please put just one copy in so that I could get it to the plant commissioners before our meeting that night.
Dorothy, you know that I'm not in the office every day. I actually live in Rib Lake right now. So I'm helping the town, so maybe you can help the town as well by trying to get us through all of this. Okay, I'm not addressing this comment anymore.
Yes, Gary.
But as I said, if it's a board decision that you want a synopsis, fine. It's got to be a board decision. It's not just a chair.
just stand up.
There is supposed to be a board member at the meeting.
There you go.
And there was a board member.
And we used to have almost the whole town board attend every plan commission meeting.
We were there.
There was 3 of us there last week,
Yeah,
or 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
So then you should have the information if you were.
But I guess is what I guess is what I'm asking for, and the reason it's a report, and the reason that I want it to come from Dorothy or somebody in that organization is because I don't want it to be, I sat there, I have my opinion what happened at the meeting. And what I want is I want the rest of the board to get either your opinion or Bruce's or Deb's or whoever that you designate to make that report. I want that to come out of your or out of your group, because then it's your opinion of what you did and it was your meeting. It's not my interpretation of sitting back in the crowd. Or it's not Bob's, or it's not Mrs. Opus, or it's not John's. It's yours. And that's why we asked the fire department for their report. They don't give us their minutes of their meeting. They give us a quick view of what happened in the last 30 days. And that's all we're asking for, is a quick deal of what happened in the last 30 days so we know what's on the agenda.
And again, as I have requested, please make it as an agenda item, and Plan Commission will be glad to give you a synopsis.
We will be doing that, Dorothy. Anything else out of Plan Commission?
No?
Bob?
Had a couple of residents contact me about garbage and recycle. One was, they missed or got missed on their route. Don't understand that. I got in touch with, Waste Management, Dale Mark, and, didn't have an explanation for it. I don't know if the driver was a setup driver that didn't know and missed it, but, and then I had another resident contact me actually today that they actually had their garbage container stolen with the garbage in it. I can't believe that. So Dale did message me back today and said they're running about 14 days for delivery of containers. So it could be 2 weeks until that person gets their container. So if you know of anybody in the township that's looking for a container or might be needing one, keep in mind that it could be 2 to 3 weeks to get one. So that's all I have.
Is there, I guess my question, is there a way to go, is there a way that we could have a container as the township to lend out? I mean, going 2 weeks without garbage pickup is a little excessive, or do they have a plan for people that do not have their containers?
Well, they can drop it off at their site in Marshfield.
But do they have to pay when they do that? I mean, we're already
If they're
paying through
missing
our
a-
taxes,
They
so
shouldn't have
if
to
you
they're
go
missing a
there,
container.
huh?
If the container is missing and it's not available, that's.
That's, so they get by with just saying,
Yeah.
we don't, or we haven't gotten one yet, and so we're, check it off for town of McMillan or something, okay.
Typically, the residents just pass it on to the new resident moving in. So
Yeah.
they just stay there, so that's typically not an issue. And sometimes it's if someone wants a second recycle container, they've already got one. Same situation there. If you have a recycle container that fills up before the pickup date, you can take it down there
Yeah,
and drop it off. You just have to show proof of residency, which is your driver's license.
yeah.
Okay. John?
Yes, I went to the library board meeting, let's see, I think that was a week or 2 ago. The library board approved a 2% pay increase for all library staff. That is the same amount that was approved for all of the city staff. The library might be seeking a salary survey, which would allow them to align their pay scale steps closer to the city's pay scale steps. And then committee assignments were distributed. I was assigned the finance and the promotion committees, but neither of those committees have standing meetings, so I won't have additional meetings to go to. And then as far as the website, I'm not aware of any motion on the .gov transfer. I got a physical map from, I don't know if you remember, but there was discussion of making an online map so that big truck haulers or whoever can see what weight limits are on what roads. So I got the physical map from Tom, I think it was last week. So I worked on that, and I modified a Google map, and I highlighted all the streets that have different weight restrictions. So you can see that on the welcome.mcmillan.com homepage, or you can go to bit.ly/McMillanWait, and then that'll bring up the Google map, and then you can see what waste limits are on whatever roads. So that worked out pretty good. The one bummer that I found was that you can't like use that map and put in your destination and stuff, so you can't get a route, but you can like, at least you can print that off or look at it and then like evaluate your route. So it's something, at least it's online and easily accessible. That's the end of my report.
Mrs. Opitz?
Yes, there were 3 rentals in June, and we have completed one now, the 1st of July. The baseball diamond is being brought back into shape. The weed killer and the dragging has been done. The locksmith has been here 3 times. We can't find any manual for that lock, and he can't find his. So we're having a little bit of a problem. I called him again today, and he didn't even respond to me. So I will be on his back to get this done. The air conditioner has malfunctioned twice. We're working with Mr. Steeney. Not sure what all was going on. Rod, maybe you can explain it more. There was no Freon in it.
The first thing that started off this spring when we tried to fire it up is it was not cooling because there was only about half the Freon in it that it needed to have. He said it might have been just one of the little, where they do the fill and stuff, that it might have just leaked out there a little bit. Now it is cooling, but it is sweating up the ductwork that goes from the coil up to the attic where it is insulated after that point. So we've not been able to discuss with him what's exactly going on there. And it does seem at times that the coils themselves are freezing up. So we're just trying to get him, we've not been able to connect with him to get him out here to look at it. It's not on his part, it's just trying to connect.
And when it freezes up, then it thaws, and then we've got the whole floor full of water. And so I'm going in there daily now, checking it to make sure that something isn't flooded. We've also had problems with the toilets in the ladies' room. Rod was able to repair one, now the other one doesn't work. So I think we've got maybe the same problem. So maybe you could check that one for me too. Mulch is to be done. Casey, whenever you can get in there, correct?
Yep.
And what else? How many times have you mowed now? And it's let up some, hasn't it?
Not lately.
Well, with all the rain.
It was kind of slow for a little bit. It was down to once a week. Now it's almost twice a week.
Okay, as long as it keeps raining, you're gonna keep mowing.
That's right.
Anyway, people are absolutely thrilled with this pavilion. They love it, and I have given you the name of the 2 people for reimbursement, which will be on the checks. And when we get to the end of July, I'll give you those for the month of July. And that's it.
Did everybody get a copy of that contract I sent for you?
I got it.
Okay.
Thank you. We're good.
Tom is at work, basically he's at work tonight, he's coming back from a job, so he will not be here tonight, he's traveling, so there will be no highway report. We move on to unfinished business, approval of pavilion rental refunds. You kind of touched on that already. Do we need to do anything else there, Tanya? Yes.
You just need to approve them.
They're included in the list of checks, correct?
Yeah, but we always put the pavilion refund as a motion at the end of the agenda after we've done the check. So I moved it up to the top of the agenda
Okay.
for approving the refunds.
Okay, I'll make a motion to
Which
approve.
ones are
There's a list in your packet.
One is Mary Jane Swenson, and one was Cynthia Petra.
Huh?
And we check, and we, you know, I go in and check it out when they get finished, and everyone is doing a fantastic job of cleaning up. It's great.
Cynthia Petrie.
Now, do you want me to make a motion to approve those, the checks for Mary Jane Swenson and Cynthia Petrie, for their $100 refund?
Second that.
Well, motion is second to do the 2 refunds for the pavilion rental. Any further discussion? Since there is none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Ayes have it. They're approved.
Hey, can I ask a question on that refund thing?
Yes, George.
Why is that even on the agenda? That's automatic, ain't it?
It is, but because we have to do for the checks, so
Gee.
people know that the checks are, you know, that they've gotten their checks back.
Well, I'm sure, yeah, but I mean, that's almost like falling off a log. I mean, if you go and pay your deposit or your fee, you know you're getting $100 back, you know. That makes no
Well,
sense.
not if you don't clean it properly, you don't get it back.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
And they know that also.
This is just
but
a
I'm just
matter
saying,
of protocol.
You know, the big bitch here with you guys is time. You wanna hurry up and get done, and then you've got something like this on the agenda. Okay, I'm done, go ahead.
Lori, Lori Berman.
We've had 1 rubbish fire, 3 EMS calls, 2 motor vehicle accidents.
Just a second, can you go to?
Oh, sorry. Since the last meeting, we had 1 rubbish fire, 3 EMS calls, 2 motor vehicle accidents, and 1 mutual aid. We have no new members at this moment. Training for the department is to be determined yet. We haven't quite decided. Our training officers come up with something. The fire department will be testing hose this month, so you'll see cones out and hoses laying out. Tender 1 needs to go in to be fixed. Has to have its brakes redone. I filled out the flex grant for the state, got that all submitted on time. If we get the money, we'll be getting a little over $31,000. Public education, July is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. You can get more information off our Facebook page. Fall Fest, raffle tickets you can get from any member on the department or Mrs. Opitz or anybody else who's helping us sell. And if anybody would like to help out, please contact myself or Mrs. Opitz.
Yeah, I got a question,
Yes, sir.
if I can. About, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, during the week, about 2:30 in the morning, there was a fire, apparently, or the fire trucks went through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they went past our house, and then they went to the south on E. Does that ring a bell?
Yep.
Okay, why would they go past on our road, because it's a piece of shit road, it isn't much.
It's the shortest
This one
distance.
here would be a whole lot better.
It's the shortest distance. We take the shortest route to the scene, and that is the shortest route to the scene.
You'd be shortening it up by what, 100 yards?
We take the shortest and quickest route to the scene, and that is the shortest and quickest route to that scene at that time.
Really?
Yes, sir.
That doesn't make much sense to me.
Any other questions?
Okay. Who gives out the fireworks permits?
As of right now, it's the chair.
Did you give any out this year? Did
I gave
anybody
out
come
one.
forward? Pardon?
Gave out one person applied for one.
I think they kind of missed the boat on that one because they were all over the place.
What, was it my neighborhood?
No, it was next door to mine.
Next door to mine.
Oh, my poor dog.
Any other questions on the fire department report that I can answer?
At least before this year, last year.
your packets, I do have a treasurer's report or a financial report, we'll call it that, for May as well as for June, because I didn't have the form to put the data in for the last meeting. So for the month of May, you can see the checking account balance, the main checking account balance ended the month at $159,366.60. Tax savings account $561,896.20. Fire department savings, I think that's referred to as a Fall Fest account, $37,726.45. Restricted cash, so that those that's the first part of the ARPA funds, $110,067.32. The park fund savings account, $11,475.89, for a total of $880,532.46. And I removed the balance for the Pioneer Bank loan because I don't have any document to provide me the balance. So that's the May report, and then we can flip over and look at the June report. So the June report has ended the month at $191,648.96, and that balance is inclusive of the second ARPA payment, which I'll be asking the board if we can transfer to the appropriate account. And then the tax savings account has $561,905.44. The fire department savings $37,726.76. Restricted cash $110,069.13, and the park fund savings account for $11,475.98. And just to mention, there were several transfers that the board approved last month. Those were done in like the first week of July, so you won't receive those reflected in this balance. So Carolyn, for your purpose, it was $800, I think, that was transferred last month, or that was approved, and then I'll need to look to see how much was deposited this past month. I don't have those numbers right now.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Tanya, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Didn't we get the second portion of the ARPA funds, the 110, so there should be 220 in June, am I correct?
So that, yeah, that's what I actually said that, maybe you didn't hear me. So the second ARPA payment is actually in the checking account.
Okay, so you just haven't transferred it over yet?
I have to get approval to do that. Yep. Okay, so that's the May and June report. Any other questions?
You want the motion to be individual, so one for May and then?
I would prefer that, but it doesn't matter. I don't think.
I move to approve the May 2022 financial report.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the financial report for May 2022. Any further discussion? Since there is none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Report approved.
So make a motion to approve the June financial report.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the financial report for June 2022. Any further discussion?
I do have one question, Tanya. So like you said that the second tranche of the ARPA money is in the checking account.
Yes.
So the overall cash balance without that would have been a reduction of like $70,000. Is that about average for like an average monthly reduction in our cash? I don't remember what the April one was.
Sure, and it fluctuates based on the payments, and so last month we did make the first half of the payment for the EMS contract.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I think that was a majority of it, and I can't remember if there was, I think there might have been one other large item
Okay.
last month.
Very good.
So,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there any further discussion?
I guess I'll ask the question now. The next page shows the list of checks totaling $133,000. There's $191,000 in the checkbook. Does that include that amount?
No, so the $191,000 doesn't include the checks, so after you guys approve the June report, then I'll have to ask for transfers. So the 191 is as of the end of June, before checks were processed.
And that includes the 110 ARPA?
Yes. But you have over $500,000 sitting in the tax savings account. And usually that money has been usually that money is used up quite regularly, so it's fairly normal to make a transfer out of your tax savings account. And then you also have like your transportation aids that'll be coming in when you get those quarterly, and
Yeah, because it's $88,000 for the library, that would come out of that tax savings.
yeah, so what we would do is, that's what I was just calculating, is if I took the 191, subtracted out the 110,000, so that we can move the ARPA funds, we'll have about almost 82,000 left, and so we have bills of 146, so I have to ask for a transfer.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Financial report approved.
All right, so the first transfer I'd like to request is to transfer the ARPA funds from the general checking account to the restricted cash account.
I would make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to transfer funds. Any further discussion?
So that's 110 even,
There's a few dollars,
whatever that.
yes, so
ARPA amount was.
whatever the ARPA amount was, we'll transfer that.
So none of that ARPA money has been spent.
No, it has
Okay.
not. Nope.
I don't know if you have that on here.
I don't have it on the agenda, so it's probably just a good time to talk about it. There is quite a bit of literature, and I can put that on my list to send to you guys, but the Towns Association has had it in your magazines or your newsletters every single month about how to use ARPA funds. I know probably about 4 to 6 months ago, the general uniform guidance on how you can use the funds was expanded. So there's quite a bit that towns can use money for, including even road projects. So I really encourage you all to educate yourselves on what you can use those funds for. Like I know one township is possibly building a garage. I don't know if that's necessary, but there's so many things that you can use the money for. So I would highly encourage you to educate yourselves on that. But I will send you maybe some links of some education and get you what I can. So.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
No, we didn't vote on it yet.
No, we can.
Right. Is there any further discussion? Since there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. You're clear to transfer that money.
Okay. So the second transfer I'd like to request is $75,000 from the tax savings account to the general checking account. So once we move the ARPA funds and then we pay the bills tonight, we'll have a deficit of about 67. And I recommend that you have a little bit of a cushion in your account. So I'm recommending 75. I know we have a few bills that come out automatically, like Frontier. Maybe like payroll taxes, those types of things. So I recommend about 75,000.
So let me read back what I understand. So we got about 191 in the checkbook. We're gonna move 110 of that for ARPA. And we're gonna, so that leaves 81-ish.
I think it was 81-ish, yeah.
Yeah, then we're gonna add 75 to that, that brings us up to 156.
Yes.
And then we've got 134,000 in checks to approve, right?
146 in checks.
146,
Yeah.
okay. So that's gonna leave us like 10 grand.
Yes. It should be sufficient.
Yeah.
Because I don't pay any bills during the month. The only thing that I would pay would be a payroll check to Pat, 2 payroll checks to him. You can transfer more. I'm just saying that would be the minimum that I would recommend.
Yeah, I'm just checking the math.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Because 10's, you know, not a lot.
yeah. You're
We
welcome.
got payroll taxes too, that have to come out every month.
How much is that?
Depends on your payroll.
It depends on payroll, and I just paid fire department. Okay, so, maybe 85,000. Unless
Yeah,
you,
I think 85 would be a better number.
great,
So,
thank you, Bob. I was trying to be conservative.
85 you are?
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah. So I make a motion that we transfer 85,000 from tax savings account to the checking account.
I second that.
A motion to transfer money, 85,000. Any further discussion? Since there is none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. You can transfer that money also.
Okay, and then I guess the next one is to approve checks and vouchers. Trying to see if there was anything on here that I need to explain, but on the bottom of the report, you'll see that, we paid the library. I went ahead and paid it for the full year because, I think the first payment might have been due in April and the second one in August, and so, I made the full payment. And then, it says Pioneer Bank, but the check when it prints says First State. So the vendor was set up as Pioneer originally, and I think just the address changed, so we probably need to fix that in the system. But Pioneer is the Breathers loan that I brought up to you today. And, yeah, the late penalty was 1617. So you're welcome to talk to the bank and try to abate that, but, the more that we go along, the more penalty and interest we're gonna have, so. They wouldn't talk to me about it because I'm not on the account.
You know what the DOT check for 2300 is for?
So it
Vehicle
is,
registrations or?
I think it was, it was for, 97 and C. I guess part of that overall project. Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And I think we've had several of these in the last couple
Is that
of
where
months.
they ditched the, I don't know.
So that's that overall, it's a big project if you look at the second page. So this is the project summary.
$725,000 project to date.
Is 746, and I think there was a split.
What that would have been.
What are you looking at?
I don't know what
It was,
this
it
would have
was
been.
a big project.
Would that be anything on the bridge maybe?
It says State Highway 97 County C.
I bet that's the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Yeah,
Is that C east or west?
it doesn't
it
say.
doesn't say. But that's the way they signify it, I believe, for Scott Bridge.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
So town's portion is 145, 195. Yeah. So these are the trickling things that we talked about.
Yeah.
then we had quarterly payroll for this month, so from April to June. So we had the fire department, and then we had the board, and then I put on there my monthly check. So and I have my detail, and Friday has it if you'd like to look at it, but it's for the month of June only.
So, what was the 1682 claims?
For the red Chevy.
Lost the water pump.
Oh. And then rival plumbing and heating, 960.
That's gonna be probably the pressure tanking work that they did on that, correct, Mrs. Opitz?
Yes, yes, we had to have a new one here.
And I did get a statement from Rigel, and I called them today to ask for the invoice, but I did confirm that that work was done, so.
I have a question.
Yes, George.
For festival foods for $111, what's that for?
So, it's about half and half, but, there was training for a portion of it, and, stamps was either $58 for stamps for Fall Fest, sending out flyers or newsletters or something, and then the balance of that was for training.
Well, one other thing, Clemens over Stratford, what was that for? Truck repair?
Yeah, we just asked, and that was a water pump, replacing the water pump.
I move approval on the checks.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to approve the checks. Any further discussion?
No electronic transfers?
I don't have any for this one.
Okay.
There is, just to note, there is a break in numbers of the checks. 18994 is a void check, so I have that in the office with void written on it.
Which one did you say?
18994, so towards the bottom of the list, there is a break in numbers between 18993.
Oh, yeah, okay. You have a motion and a second?
I'm just waiting if you guys, I see a couple people still looking, so.
Okay.
You good, John?
Yeah, I'm looking at the
Okay.
budget actually.
I have a motion and a second to approve the checks for this month. Is there any further discussion?
Dorothy, other hand.
I was just gonna remind everybody, stamps go up the end of this month.
Do you know how much they're going up?
2 cents.
Another 3 cents,
3 cents.
so heads up.
I appreciate that. I think I'm running low on the stamp. I need to go get some.
Get the
For
forever
the
stamp.
taxes.
Yeah.
So when they go up, can you use what you have?
Yeah.
You can use your forever stamp.
If you have it forever.
But your other ones you gotta add your.
I know
2
we
cents
have
for.
about maybe 5 or so rolls in the office right now.
I would get enough through tax season, but so when they pay out taxes, they have enough for that.
Changed today.
Was it today? Christine, but might be late.
No, end of
What
July.
was it? I didn't
Is
hear.
it the end?
Some to check anyway.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay.
Ayes have it. Checks approved.
So the budget to actual report is hot off the press. I've just printed it, I've not reviewed it, so if you, it's basically all the inputs for the bills, so, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those for you.
This includes the checks that were in the package.
Yes, yes it does. John, at the top I selected through the end of the year, so it picks up the total budget and then everything for the year. Yep.
Did you need anything else out of us to do, vote on anything, Tanya?
No.
Moving on to number 11, clerk's position.
Trying to think if I have any updates. So we appointed Mary Jane last month as deputy clerk. She has completed almost all of her training. I think she'll probably finish that up within the next day or two. Had our first meeting tonight to talk about elections, so she's doing a really nice job. We did have an interview, but I think the interview was prior to our last board meeting. We interviewed one lady that had applied for the clerk position, and then she did not want to move forward in the process. Have not had any other applicants until the end of June. We did have one applicant at the end of June, and the applicant was interviewed in person by Tom and I, interviewed over the phone by Rodney and Carolyn, and Bob possibly. Bob did not, okay. And so, anyway, this person was interviewed or vetted by the board. And then we can talk about that at the end of the meeting. I think that's all I had.
Everything in the treasurer's position?
On the treasurer position, so I have a possible candidate to talk to right now. We have exchanged a few text messages, maybe a phone call, but I've kind of put that on hold because we had a lot of activity on the clerk position, and feel like maybe we need to move forward with that first, and then the board can decide how they want to handle the treasurer position. But I am keeping in contact with her, and then we can decide what we want to do. I will say that the board should consider any of the budget amount for the treasurer position later in the year, possibly moving any overage to maybe the clerk line item in the budget to accommodate for any like extra training expense that you've had to incur. It's just a recommendation.
Any questions for fire department grants?
Like I said, I filled out the flex grant one. The next one I'd like to do is the firehouse subs grant. This we can do for equipment, anything like that, up to $35,000, and we, as a department, picked a project to do. We will be, if you approve it, we will be applying for this for a battery-operated JAWS with a cutter, spreader, struts, and airbags.
Lori, can you repeat what is the grant for the firehouse subs and what is the equipment?
It's for a battery-operated JAWS.
Is there any match from the town?
No match, this is, I apply for a grant, if I get it, I get the full amount that I requested, and there's nothing coming from township at all.
And how much is the battery operated job?
Well, I have two quotes here. One quote is for a Hearst, and that's $34,171.19. And then I have another one for the TNT, which we already have, and that total is $23,130.
Wow.
We have the gas version.
We have the gas version of the TNT right now, and we'd like to do a battery-operated JAWS to put it on another rig. So if we get 2 accidents at the same time, we can take JAWS to 2 accidents.
Is there any kind of like ongoing maintenance with those? Like, do they require new jaws or systems or something?
Battery-operated ones, no, but the gas-powered ones, every now and then, we have to have the hydraulic hoses checked.
There is a periodic where it's a good practice to have the manufacturer come in. If you stay with the same brand, you can come in and they basically do a pressure check on everything, make sure that everything's functioning exactly as it's supposed to
The
be.
battery operated one is still battery with hydraulics.
It's still battery, there's 2 different kinds. One, the TNT uses the Milwaukee batteries.
Yeah, but it's still a battery running motor that drives a hydraulic pump.
Mm-hmm.
So you still got the same hose concern.
There's no hose, no nothing.
They're self-contained, it's all in one.
It's all in one. And just, you put the battery in it, you start using it, it works that way. There's no hoses, no nothing.
So it's not hydraulic, it's purely electric.
It's purely battery operated.
So there's gotta be a hell of a gearbox on there to move them jaws,
Probably, yes.
which is gonna require some maintenance. And what is the deadline for that grant?
Oh, jeez. I think this is the quarterly one, if I remember right. Yeah, I think this is a quarterly one. And the reason I'm asking permission to do this is gonna require a lot of time and effort, because they require a lot of stuff narrated and
So
drawn.
if it's quarterly, when would it be due to be submitted by? September?
Yes. End of September, beginning of October,
And then when do they award it?
December.
So it'll actually end up being spent next year?
Well, as soon as I get the,
What's the delivery on the jaw? If there's anything else like I've been trying to buy, it's like 25 weeks.
well, I didn't get a delivery on that, I just had to get the quotes. So I had a rough dollar amount that I was doing.
Okay. So what do you need as far as support to get that submitted? You gonna need help from the clerk?
Nope, I think I have everything I need from the clerk already for previous grants that I've filled out.
I would like to say that I just think the board would just congratulate Lori for all this hard work. Filling out grant paperwork is not easy, and this is a lot of good money and assets into the town, so I just think it's a job well done. She communicates with me every week on, whatever information she needs, so I know she's working on these diligently.
I make a motion to move forward with the firehouse subs grant.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to move forward with the application for the subs grant. Any further discussion? If there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against?
Did you send the letters, the certified letters have been sent out to all of the people concerned with the fence viewing, and they have to have, we sent the letter out stating that we would be meeting at the fence on, was it July 22nd? And they have to have the letter 8 days ahead. So, and it was a signature, that they did receive the letter, the certified letter? And so Tom and I will be meeting with the people involved with there are 3 different families that will be involved. Mr. Glick, the Christensens, and a Mr. Dalkey. And to do go over all of the fence laws and so forth. So that's where we stand.
Ron, can I go back to the firehouse stuff? It is due on December 31st of 2022, so this would be a purchase for 2023.
That's it.
Moving on to new business, zoning issues and requests.
So this is the line item for the seeking for zoning, petition for rezone.
At this time, would you like to say anything to the board on your?
So I guess John was the only one that wasn't at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're applying for a rezone from light industrial to commercial. The light industrial zoning does not allow me to grow. It gives me very restrictive setbacks because we're on a corner property. So it's essentially I'd have about 300 square feet I could build in front of my loading dock. We employ 35 employees here in Marathon County, as well as Sparta in my second location. But being that we're growing in the manner that we are, we're out of room, and a new office in a shop has to be part of my future plans. And so in order to do that, commercial zoning fits me not only in what my future goals are, but also fits me for the building that I need to do.
And when I read through the packet previously, there wasn't a significant change, right? It was
Just setbacks.
Yeah, so, okay.
So yeah, so I don't know if you're familiar with our location and where we're at, but the larger gray building was built under different setback guidelines, and the 2 properties were combined. They used to be 2 different properties, and for whatever reason, that was fine back then when we built it, but now it's not. So that's the major reason for the change, and it's quite simply, hindering my growth. So
Thank you very much.
yeah.
I make a motion to approve the rezone.
Do we need to do the resolution first?
Have it right here. So I think the motion for approving the rezone will then generate us to do the
Okay.
resolution.
Second.
A motion second to approve the rezone. Any further discussion? Since there is none, so a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay? Approved. Okay, what do we need to do with the resolution then? Or is that,
I think we need a motion for the resolution. I was kind of combining that, but since we've already approved it, let's just have a motion for the resolution.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution for the rezoning of the Sea Acres property.
A second.
a motion and second to approve the resolution for the Seaver rezoning? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Approved. Moving on to the Red Hawk Lane. You want to start this as open?
Yes. I have given you the handouts that I have received. One is the letter from Mr. Kennedy, and one is from, just a minute, I have to find it here. Mr. Yoki and Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy, and then also I received a call from Mr. Seifert. We also have members of Red Hawk Lane here present tonight. I will read the letter that the Kennedys gave to me, and we'll go from there. Dear members, please consider this a formal complaint against the recent zoning and regulation changes made in February 2022 to section 17.204.57, major home occupation / home professional business. This is not a complaint against our neighbor, but a system that has allowed what has just transpired. Prior to this most recent change made by Marathon County, a major home occupation, home professional business was not permitted in a rural residential area. It is now permitted with a conditional use permit, with the exception of any business that primarily conducts services off-site who are exempt from the conditional use permit. We have lived with a concrete construction business operating illegally next door for the past 2 years, despite 3 warnings and a violation letter issued in June 2021. It is now legal for him to operate out of a rural residential area. Why is this an issue? Without the need for a conditional use application and residents' input, small businesses will now be operating out of rural residential neighborhoods. Despite the fact that they must abide by Section A of the zoning regulation, there is no enforcement. To give you a sense of what this means, equipment skid steers, 2 dump trucks, F550 size dump truck, approximately 19,500 pound, 2 tandem equipment trailers, and 3 tandem covered trailers, all commercially plated, are kept on the property for daily use, not stored. Supplies, pre-made fire pits on site for 2 years. CAT tracks, concrete forms, partial pallets of concrete blocks, equipment attachments, bales of hay are kept on the property, not stored. Employees show up to park their cars and take their set equipment to the job site, returning to the end of the day with vehicles, dump trucks, pickups, and trailers as early as 5:15 a.m. and up to 8:30 p.m. at night. Multiple trips of dump trucks, trailers, and pickups per day. Excessive dust from said vehicles going in and out of the drive. Excessive noise, for example, on 6/25/22 at 6:30 a.m., I was woken up due to loud banging metal on metal, in which the owner and employees were changing the bucket on the skid steer and loading and unloading said equipment onto an equipment trailer. It is now legal to operate this business in our rural residential neighborhood, although it states he must comply with all of Section A of the major home occupation, home professional business. Is this where you want your children to grow up and live out your retirement years? Then he has included a major home occupation, home professional business. There was another letter that was sent out on June 1st, 2022. Notice of correction. Eric and Tabitha Wendell. On June 8, 2021, a violation letter was sent indicating that a violation was occurring at this above listed property. This is from the Marathon County Land Resources Manager. This letter contained incorrect information regarding the compliance status of the property. During Marathon County Conservation Planning and Zoning investigation, it was determined that the business in question has a separate business location located at 115020 East McMillan, Marshfield, where business-related deliveries and employees report to work. A site visit conducted by CPZ staff on May 25th, 2022 found the property in question not in violation regarding the operation of a business. As being the proper owners, you are permitted to park equipment, skid steer, truck, trailer, etc. on the property or in structures located on the property. You are also allowed to receive personal deliveries and conduct maintenance or repairs on your home using your business equipment. Additions, expansions may require additional permitting. Additionally, a major home occupation will often require a conditional use in the rural residential area district in section 17.204.57 of the General Zoning Code of Ordinances for Marathon County, which outlines the necessary requirements. Home occupation or home professional businesses that primarily conduct service off-site are exempt from the conditional use permit and shall conform to the standards in Section A. These may include, but not limited to, contractors for building, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, plumbing, water well drilling, and appliance repair. The Marathon County Conservation Planning and Zoning Department's mission is to protect our community's land and environment. We promote thoughtful and deliberate use of resources to ensure that Marathon County has healthy people, a healthy economy, and a healthy environment. We apologize for any confusion and thank you for your cooperation and understanding. That is Mr. Kennedy's and also Mr. Dick Seifert's letter. This is another letter. Ms. Opitz, thanks for your time on the phone yesterday. I wanted to share with you in writing some sentiments that Carolyn, my wife, and I have on the issue of commercial entities operating in the areas of our township that are currently zoned as being rural residential. We live at 111543 Swallowtail Lane, which is one road north of Red Hawk Lane. We have been residents of the township at this location for over 25 years. Prior to the death of Bruce Brink and subsequent departure of Patty Brink, we purchased the lot that exists between our property and their former property, which is located at 111482 Red Hawk Lane. By virtue of our owning this extra lot, we have been insulated from the commercial activities that have been taking place there of late. This, however, doesn't change a fundamental issue that confronts the township, and especially those of us that live in areas that are zoned as residential. To maintain the quality of life that has created a desire on the part of many of us to live in the rural settings we call home, the township will need to address the extent to which commercial activity is allowed to exist in our neighborhoods. In addition, given the concerns we all share about the cost of maintaining roads, it needs to be recognized that many of our roads, including Swallowtail and Red Hawk, have restrictions posted that we suspect would limit the sort of truck use that is seen with heavier commercial activity. We would ask the Township Board to address this issue thoughtfully and with the recognition that all of us in the township appreciate our rural environment and want to maintain the current quality of life it engenders. Respectfully, Bill and Carolyn Yonke. And then I had gone to the county to speak to the Conservation Planning and Zoning and asking them if they had been in to do a follow-up on what was going on there, and they have not. They have been back once since then, on Friday the 24th, in follow-up of your concerns with the property located at 11482 Red Hawk Lane. We will be sending a letter to the owners reminding them traffic and parking generated from major home occupation, home professional businesses must be kept to a minimum in residential neighborhoods. We do not have anything that can be enforced upon at this time, but we'll continue to monitor the situation. So now I've been doing a lot of reading and trying to see what is in our ordinances as to what is going on.
There's weight limits on the road, it's the county over there, except the guys overweight.
Pardon me?
We don't enforce it, the county does.
The problem is he's been coming, and I have been issuing him his overweight permits because he's been justifying them by showing me the work that he's been doing on his own house. Now, about a week ago, Mrs. Opitz brought this up to me. No one had brought this up to me from the neighborhood because they felt that the board was turning a blind eye to them, which I apologize for that if you had that feeling. That is not this board's intent to do that. But I've been issuing them because I could see the work being done. He's been doing work on his patio, he's been doing work on other things. So the stone that I saw there matched his patio, and gravel would match driveway work, and stuff would match that. So that's the reason that I've been issuing the permits, because it looked like it looked good. The county had rescinded their question of him saying that he was operating illegally, so I have no reason to, I guess, not issue them. Now, if at 5 o'clock in the morning he truly is doing all of this, now there gets to be a little bit more to this, so.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I did pull up on our own ordinances, when they are given a permit to have this, I looked up what permit lapses meant here for us. Under our ordinances, a permit lapse. A building permit shall lapse and be void unless building operations are commenced within 6 months, or if construction has not been completed within 2 years from the date of issuance thereof. So this has to do, that was for the building permit. That building has been, he poured the concrete and then had CPZ come out and applied for a conditional use permit. And they told him that there were the violations, and that's why then he had to stop. And so then, after all of that discussion, he proceeded to build the building, but it's not finished. And it's all this big green, it looks like a big green monster.
It's wrapped in tieback, green tieback.
Yeah, and so that's never been completed. So he has not fulfilled that, and so I asked the county about that. So they are going to come back and check this out again. I mean, I don't know what else we can do. The other thing that does pertain to this is a public nuisance. No person shall erect, contrive, cause, continue, maintain, or permit to exist in any public nuisance within the town of McMillan, Marathon County, Wisconsin. A public nuisance defined is a thing, act, occupation, condition, or use of property which shall continue for such length of time as to substantially annoy, injure, or endanger the comfort, health, repose, or safety of the public. greatly offend the public morals or decency. And so, any condition or use of premises or building exteriors which is detrimental to the property of others or which cause substantial diminution in the value of other property in the neighborhood in which such premises are located. Now,
May I speak to that?
yes, you may.
I think that Dick Seifert, his wife just recently died, okay? I think he has substantially lost on the value of his home. Because the building that is put up right behind his property, I mean, that's right where it is. And
Yeah, it
I
looks
think
out.
if there's anyone in the neighborhood who has lost, it's Dick Seifert.
Yeah, he looks out his living room and sees this big green building. It's the insulation stuff around it. And there's all kinds of stuff piled around this and what have you. Anyway, that's it. I don't know.
I don't, if that's what's going to be called rural residential in the town of McMillan, I would caution people even moving in, thinking that they're going to have this quiet rural
So we never had
living.
the conditional use permit come through our,
They had a conditional use permit, that's been like 2 years ago, 3 years
so
ago.
that came
2
through.
years,
the
a little over
planning-
2 years
It came
ago.
to the plan commission, it went to the town board,
And then it went to the county, yeah.
Okay,
But then he pulled it.
so that's 2 years ago already?
Yes.
Two or three.
Yeah.
Could he mold it?
I just,
He pulled it. He pulled it,
So he doesn't
so,
have one.
no.
It says that they're exempt from it now.
And now he's exempt. And so this was the point that Mr. Kennedy was trying to make, and which I addressed in Wausau to them. When this process started, this was a violation. And now their ordinance, the county has changed their ordinance code, which is now exempt. So then he pulled it.
When he pulled that, didn't he change the size of the building? Isn't that why that they had basically rejected at that time and said the building was gonna be too big?
Yep.
So then they ended up pulling that and he had to reduce the size of this building, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
So that was why they pulled it. So there's nothing now.
Yeah, 'cause
Who had
So the fact that it was done in, that was not right at that time, and now the
That was right
law's
at the time.
changed, they do not recognize that past law. So that was my point in talking to them, was saying, this was before you passed the law, this new code. And they said, well, that doesn't make any difference. So, this is where we are. I don't know what we can do.
I have a question. On the noise, where you were saying 5:30 in the morning, what do our ordinances say for noise?
I can't find, it doesn't give any hours, but I said that should have been probably, when those permits are issued.
Not before 7, 8 o'clock in the morning?
No, you figure, when we had the big hearing for the Stretz Pit, that was one of the things that was addressed, that there are times when this does not occur.
Mhm.
That you have all this noise and what have you. So,
Limited permits.
but unless it's on there specifically stated,
Write it in there. Put it on next month's agenda and get that changed and put a time in there. You can do that on those permits. You can put a time on there.
well, that's the county's permit, so.
That's right.
Yeah, so we
County zoning.
can't write in on that. So, anyway, This is, I
For
wanted
the-
everyone to
I'm
read.
talking about the road permit for the township.
The noise permit.
No, I want the road permit.
The highway permit that I give out
Right,
for
that you
the,
can issue, put a time on there. Slow those trucks down so they can't be going down the road at
that
5:30.
doesn't need board approval, I can just do that.
Okay, however you wanna do it, I mean, you could put it on there and then it would be for the whole township,
Maybe some
you know.
markers.
Well, it's underneath the, well, it's the same thing, although it's underneath where they're gonna be traveling and all that, it can be put in the
Right.
narrative, it doesn't have to be on every single one. Cause one of the issues that will come up, cause there was some complaints, I believe verbally, nothing written, but there was some verbal complaints also on the, house that's being built there. Well, one of my concerns as chair in issuing out permits for overweight is chip seal when you have a 90-degree day or an 80-degree day and you have the sun beating on it. You're better off running those trucks earlier in the morning and later at night. The problem is I know that does disturb the neighborhood, but it saves the road. So the question out of it is what's more important, and basically right now also what I'm hearing is everybody wants everybody to build anything that they can possibly get a 2x4 to build. Well, if that's the case, you have to allow them to get concrete trucks in and dirt trucks in. So as a community, we have to figure out where we want to go with this. If a little bit of disturbance in our neighborhoods is okay so that we can save our roads on some of this stuff and people can still build and do what they need to do, or if we do need to pull this back and then say, hey, we're not going to basically allow you to have build and run and do whatever you need to do. I mean, that's a community decision.
Well, let me read something to you out of our ordinance. So 373-6, abatement of public nuisance, subparagraph B. Notice to owner. If the town board determines that a public nuisance exists within the town, it shall provide notice to the person causing, permitting, or maintaining such a nuisance, or the owner or occupant of the premises where such nuisance exists. The notice shall direct the person causing, permitting, or maintaining the nuisance, or the owner or occupant of the premises to abate or remove such nuisance within 3 days. The notice shall also state that unless such nuisance is so abated, the town shall cause the same to be abated and will charge the cost thereof to the owner, occupant, or person causing, permitting, or maintaining the nuisance. So we have the power to do it.
What is that number?
373-6.
You're just
6.
talking about the roads now.
No, this
No,
is
no, no,
noise.
no.
This is
Abatement
noise.
of public nuisance.
One of our ordinances.
This has to do with, you know,
Inspection of the
Noise.
premises is what it says.
I mean, it's defined as.
It doesn't change what you can build though.
No,
No.
the county has
And
that.
they have
And
that
they don't-
authority.
So we have adopted
They've opened
county
the door.
zoning, so if the county gives them the permit to build it, there ain't anything we can do unless we make a change to our zoning, which means we would not use county zoning.
I just think, you know, the way it's, oh, all right, let's put this property now back on Deer Run or over on Ruby Lane or any one of these areas over there. In Jeff Field's new development, let's put this business right in there that we've got on Red Bug. You're gonna have people screaming.
Is this actually acceptable now? Anybody can come into these residential areas and
No, I
start
think
their
when
own
you
business?
read what this new law that came out, this one, I don't know if you've seen that.
It's major, the major.
You know, there is some grayness to that, which is interpreted by whoever is reading it and whoever is observing the area. I can study for a test, and if I know somebody's gonna be around, I don't have to do what I always do. So when he shows up, I look good. I mean, I can do that. And I guess, you know, I'm not saying that that's what's happening here, but it could be. So, you know, evidence is gonna be necessary to really make something stick. You know, and that's gonna be the challenge with these types of situations, because people are gonna try to take it to the nth degree of what they can do.
And I think that that's kind of what has happened, is that he's pushing it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if the county notified them before they were coming to inspect. I don't know that. I don't know whether they did or not, but
Basically,
the
the
day
letter,
before, he moved that, all of that stuff was moved out. And then 2 weeks later, it was all moved back. So I don't know. I mean, he's got pictures. Mr. Kennedy has lots of pictures and what have you. And I just think that if there's anything at all that we can do to try and relieve some of this, that we need to do it.
Excuse me, but did Marathon County change this, or did the gentleman from Marathon County say it's always been this way where he can't operate out of there?
because he's basically told us there's nothing he can do.
A few years ago, there were all these restrictions,
Yeah.
and now there's none.
Yeah, well, and that was what the code that was changed.
So did
the
Marathon
argument-
County change it?
So the
Oh, yes,
argument,
they
yeah,
do.
so this letter from the county zoning, this Shad, Harvey is his name?
Yeah, I've got,
So he
Probably.
specifically
Okay,
states in
Kennedy
here,
said that.
and the key part that you gotta read in here is that he has a separate business location located at 115-020 East McMillan.
yeah,
So he can say he's operating there, not at his home. And so his home is not part of the operation of the business.
I believe he had an address in Hewitt prior to that.
Yes, and they,
yes.
yeah, and he got,
But
they
then
went
he
after
said,
him.
what's his name?
And he had, so he
Yeah, but
ended
that's-
up selling everything in Hewitt because they went after him.
And
Where he was
knew
parking
couldn't
his
have
truck
everything
solar
at
on-
the current
on
place, at
his-
his old place, so he bought this other piece of property.
Ron, what's his name?
But now, this,
Oh.
supposedly this other property, I went to that address, and that is, Myers, out on East
Yeah, it
McMillan.
is,
Ron Myers?
That's his address.
That's-
So,
right,
yeah,
Ron
and he
Myers.
says that's where his other business premises is.
right.
And they
So-
probably let him store his equipment there. That would be my guess. And he
Well,
probably
but he's
buys
not,
material.
he's got this business, he's got all this equipment at so
On
much.
Red Hawk now.
At Red Hawk, he keeps it there, and he moves it in and out. So,
Is there such a thing as a grandfather clause yet?
I asked the county about that, and they said no. No, it does not. You know, whatever the new one is what is. And so I said, well, that doesn't really seem fair
No,
either.
this is a bad deal.
But there's nothing, we have no control. The other thing is that Mr. Kennedy did tell them, the county, that they were notified that there was gonna be a hearing on this, changing this code, and nobody was around him was notified. And so I asked him, I said, well, don't you normally, and she said, no, because if you have to, you'd be having to notify everybody in the whole county. So that wasn't that wouldn't be able to be
I got a
addressed. So
question. Is the traffic up and down the road all the time? With his
Well,
permits?
that's the winter for him.
No, but I mean, in the summer when he has to have permits, is he up and down the road all the time? Limit his permits. Pick a day, how much lawn work can you do? He's been doing that for 3 years.
he comes and goes all day. And so, I went there this morning at 6 a.m. so I could see, if I could see anything. I've done it twice now. And one day I didn't see anything, but this morning he came up the road from St. Joe's into his driveway, and then in a little bit left again with the big, huge enclosed trailer. So I don't know what else, whatever it is for his job site, I suppose. I don't know. I understand the beef here is that this is in the middle of a residential area.
There's something, I think this township, if the county's gonna do what the county's gonna do, I can't believe they're getting away with that in Wausau. I just can't.
Well, we're in county
It's
zoning.
not county, it's not Washington.
So basically, it's okay on Red Hawk Lane, but not necessarily any place else around us.
It could be.
Well, we don't
Hey,
know.
no,
We
it
haven't
could
been,
be
we
anywhere.
haven't been challenged on it
It could
before.
be anywhere. You know, so until he finishes the real construction on his property, it's gonna be difficult for us to say that that piece of equipment doesn't need to be there. That's gonna be the problem. So he has a construction permit from the county to build this thing, and it's not complete yet.
Well, if you listen to Ray Kennedy, he has to look at all of this stuff, all of his equipment, he's got it all parked, he parks it all there in the winter. He's got trailers and everything that you listed off there. He doesn't have all this stuff on the,
On Ron Myers.
on the off-site, place.
Yeah, so-
And apparently, according to the neighbors, that when the county came and did an inspection, he had conveniently moved everything off-site and shortly after brought everything back.
And I think that's where we're gonna need to get
So-
photographic evidence that
Yeah.
So,
he's violating.
Someone
Have to go to the
suggested,
county.
huh?
It's gonna have to go to the county. The
Yeah,
county.
the county has to enforce that.
But the county, they don't want to.
Well, the
I
thing
knew that
is-
they were going over there, because I talked to Lori a couple months ago, and she said they had 3 complaints for the town of McMillan, and she named all of them. I knew which ones they were going to be.
Like I said, the one I really feel the worst for is Dixon.
Well, Dick now has his house on, he signed the papers today. He's selling the house. But who's gonna wanna move in with that?
And I
Yes,
gotta think that's
Gary?
gonna affect the price.
Did you ask him at the county what would possess him to change stuff to allow this to happen? I mean,
I mean, it was already-
This guy's in, just knew.
It was already done. It
That
was
was-
over and done before I,
but this law just went into effect in February. I mean, what would possess the people at the county level to, I mean, anybody can come in any place now and put in their business.
Yeah,
Well,
this
You
that's
don't
what
need
we-
a conditional
yeah,
use
and
permit
that's-
anymore.
That's the point of this whole
They're moving next to
conversation,
you, Gary.
you know?
I heard they're moving in next. to you.
I already got one on the road, so.
So, anyway, I don't know what, what are we gonna do? We need
You don't wanna
to
post
send a notice to the owner that a public nuisance exists. And whatever all is in that, in B there, in the statutes.
You better ring up your attorney, because this guy's gonna fight it, guaranteed.
Oh, all right, he's already saying that
Well,
Ray is, he said
you're
he's
taking
probably
on-
gonna
on-
sue
on
me.
One way or the other, that's his livelihood. I mean, you know, are we allowed to take away somebody's livelihood? Because we went through that, my wife and I, when I had the pizza business. Okay, we had some people that were pissed off at us, and they tried to shut our pizza business down. We had our warehouse right where it is, and we parked our trucks there, in our walk-in freezers. And we had people that had called the county and whatever. And it didn't fly, but, you know, because it was residential, so-called.
Yeah.
So, can you, you know, are you gonna get on this bandwagon and try to shut down somebody's livelihood? That's what I'm saying. This would be a precedent. So then,
Well,
if somebody else pisses me off, then we're gonna go after.
Well, we're not trying to shut him down. What we're trying to do is make this so that the people living there are not,
I understand, I feel their pain, I know that would be a pain in the ass, I agree.
yeah.
You know, with that.
Yeah, I think you have, the
Hey, go
difficult,
over your 3 minutes.
the difficult part with this is that the intent of the ordinance is to ensure that we preserve the residential neighborhood but yet allow people some flexibility to use their property. There are people who are gonna push the envelope to use their property. And if you have a second business location to keep your equipment, you're not bringing all that equipment in and out of your residence, you're not increasing that traffic, you're not creating a hazard, you're not damaging the roads. While you're doing construction on your home, that's hard to say, well, that is or isn't related to your business. That's personal. And it's gonna be very difficult to enforce what is personal versus what is professional. And so right now, we're in this gray zone that, I don't know how you're gonna enforce this. Until that construction permit is done and that building is finished.
Well, wasn't that 2 years?
I thought he had 2 years on that permit.
Well, and we're already there, and so that's what I said. I think
That's
that
where
we
the
can
county, that's
address.
where the county's gotta crack down, because they're the ones that issue the permit. If he's not done within the 2 years, there's fines.
Well, I think he can apply for an extension.
He can,
Yeah, so, I mean, did he? We don't
And
know.
we don't see those.
right.
No, it's the county. It's up to the county, but I've already told them that they need to get,
So the county has their final say on this, right?
Oh, yes.
For the most part.
Basically, yeah.
Right?
yeah, that's it. But if there's any way that we can ease it so that they're not coming in at
Maybe
5
have-
o'clock in
maybe
the
have a
morning
civil-
and
Have a
staying.
civil meeting between the neighbors and Eric?
That ain't gonna happen.
Or there's, they tried.
We
Haven't you?
done
They tried.
Well, I,
Eric Wendell.
Okay, well, I think we'll kind of kick this back to the county again. And I don't know what else we can do.
basically what Shad said in county when he wrote to us, because I called him, was that if, the Wendells continue what they're doing, that they're not supposed to be doing, that the county will do what's necessary to bring them into compliance.
Mhm. They will.
Yeah, and it's gonna
They
require them
will.
to reduce the traffic.
But I think that, and I think that we just need to push that. That's all.
I don't think that the county's going to do anything real.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
No, because he has options, like Deb said, he can get an extension on his construction permit for his property, and he's.
This is why you don't see the Kennedys here tonight, or you don't see Dick Seifert here tonight, because they feel it's a lost cause.
Yeah. Well, not only that, Mr. Kennedy said I'd probably say something and get sued by more than just that guy. So,
And that's
so that's why I didn't come.
Some people.
One of the questions, I guess, that it brings up to me, before we put this rest and just move on, is this maybe something that the plan commission may want to look at. Maybe we don't want our subdivisions to be labeled as rural residential. I mean, the county seems to be changing their names on stuff and changing the rules. I mean, it's kind of like with, I'm sure that when your place of business was made and everything was done with it, that fit everything perfectly and did everything needed to be done. And now they changed the rules, kind of, if you will. They changed setbacks, they changed this, they changed that, and now all of a sudden it's commercial instead of light industrial. And maybe that's happening the same thing with some of our subdivisions. That we're really not looking, I mean, like a hill project, maybe that's really not a rural residential anymore. Maybe it's a straight residential, or, I mean, I don't know what name that they have. I haven't looked into it
I
yet.
think rural residential applies up to 5 acres.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are 2 acres. That's your subdivision.
Right. Anything up to 5 acres is rural residential.
Is what?
Rural residential.
Is 5.
Yeah.
Or, I think it's, isn't it residential estate?
Right, and we don't pick the categories.
Yeah, the county
The
does.
county picks the categories.
Yeah. Well, what do we, what is our resolution here?
I think we just gotta work with Lori, the
Okay.
county.
Okay. Okay. I can go back with these letters now to her.
Yeah, I would present those letters to her and emphasize that there needs to be.
And then also, I think I will give her, we need to look at our own ordinances here and maybe stress that also.
What did you just say, Carolyn?
I said we also need to address our own ordinances.
Yeah, there needs to be.
Because this is, yeah, so,
It's gonna be tough because you have a lot of businesses that are close to residences, just like
Yeah.
Neighbors operation, you know, we start putting.
But he's been there forever. He didn't just come in.
yeah.
It's
Well, that was-
tough when you're,
this
it's
is
tough
just-
when you're in this blended environment where you've got country, rural, and commercial mixed.
Well, as it stands right now, for the rest of the neighbors on Red Hawk Lane, it really stinks.
Well, it stings for anybody who wants to. Look,
We were one of the first two out there. And we've been there 40-something years, and in the last couple of years, new neighbor moves in. And I don't have anything against the people, but it's just disrupted property values, especially for Kennedy and Cypher. Yeah,
How
they're
big
right
is-
next to it. They
how big
look
is
at
this
it
thing?
every day.
Huh?
How big is his building? I haven't seen it.
The building is quite large, but he pushed it to the amount, the biggest that he could have,
I think it's 1800.
30 by 40 or something like that. I don't
and
know.
it's pushed up to the back of Cypress.
It went right up to the property
So he's
line
right
between the
limit
two
of the
properties.
setback. He's right at the setback limit.
Yeah.
And he did not have 5 acres. That parcel was smaller because the previous, 2 owners back divided his property. So it was about 2 for Dick Seifert, basically, until he bought some land from Dr. Colts. Okay? And, so now Dick's got about 5 acres, part of it being Wood County, part of it being Marathon. And these people that we spoke about with their business, that would be now quite 3 maybe acres.
Lori over there is the one who said to me, do you have a nuisance ordinance? And I said, yes, and she said, then read it very carefully.
Yeah, I was reading through it, there's not a lot in there about noise.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Okay. Well, it really isn't solving any problems, but all we can do is just keep at it, I guess. It's not so much us as the county, it needs to get this resolved.
If this continues, this is the first spark.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to say that anything you folks can do to help us there, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I know your hands are somewhat tied too. It's,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
With our busy schedule, I've put off, and I think it's time to stop putting off the plan commission members. And before I bring up anybody's names or do anything here, I guess I'm gonna kinda ask from the board, what do they think of the, and I don't have to go in great detail, but what we've been getting, or how it's been working out with the current plan commission. I know that last year I came in and tried to find out who and do some changes in it. That didn't work out so well. It took 3 months to figure out that we're basically gonna leave it exactly the way that it was. I also don't see any improvement in that time. I mean, I know that we board, we need more information, and because we think and try to, we don't always have 5 people that go out to each residence and call them and ask them the same questions. I don't know if Gary and Devin those did that, but there's not a good flow of information from the current plan commission to the current members on the board. So I'd like to see change. The other thing is it's not then straight coming of who is actually up on the committee. I would think that there would be some good documentation.
We check your minutes, Carla and Dennis, I believe it's September, am I correct?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
done in September.
Deb Davis was appointed, what was it, last year? And then, next year is Dorothy and Bruce. They stagger.
So, just based on the information that was in the office, in the oath of office book and the payroll records, those are not the dates that are reflective of that.
You can check your minutes, I'm sure that's what you did it.
So, Deb Davis, I did not know the month, so I'm gonna put that one on hold. I didn't know the month of
I think
hers.
it was May of last
So,
year.
what
She's
was,
right there.
what was left in the oath of office, I asked Dorothy sent me dates. I went to confirm the dates and I found discrepancies. So, I do have an oath of office form from Deb Davis from July of 2019. And I didn't have anything further, so we can look in the minutes. I wasn't sure about that. I didn't, yeah, so Deb is fine. And then, the other 4, so, Dorothy's appointment, and I don't know all the plan commission members' names. Not that
Dorothy and Bruce are the same year.
they were up in May of 2022.
No, because the first year, they actually filled in for somebody else. And then we reappointed them after that for 3 years.
They were appointed here. I have Dorothy is 7/2019.
And that, was that in to fill in? Yeah, that was to fill
Well,
in
it
the year.
doesn't matter. You're at the end of that, so.
Then we had
you're
reappointed her.
filling it in. So
Then we
unless she
did-
was reappointed,
She was reappointed in 2020, I believe it was.
no, there's no documentation of that.
It should have been in the minutes, because we did have the
We
meeting.
did look. And it's not there, that we could find.
It was done, I know that.
Well, but anyway, what are you gonna do? It doesn't matter, what did the attorney tell you?
Basically, the attorney said it's at my discretion to appoint people or to remove people. The board needs to vote on it and approve that decision.
And what about if there is a term or whatever?
They're serving at the discretion of this board.
Okay.
That's also where you're taking on, Tanya, because you were involved in that discussion.
Yes, correct.
So I guess as a board, would we like to see a change or same old, same old?
It's up to you. It's your appointment.
Then I guess I will put it out there and you guys can vote however you wish. I wish to, Deb Davis, I know that we had put her into position last year. I don't know where the documentation or however any of that falls out. So she has her term starting as of last year. So she will be staying on. My deal is to basically to replace the rest of them. And the replacements on that would be Mike Stockheimer, Steve Mikulski, and Steve Zimba, and also Dave Swenson.
You said that the plan commission members serve at the pleasure of the board chair?
As the board, as a whole. You guys will have to, if the changes would happen, you guys have to vote on it and we make it happen. If not, then we stay where we're at.
The new people, do they have any plan commission experience?
Yes.
3 of them do.
Who else besides Mike has been on the plan commission? Who else besides Mike has been on the plan commission?
Steve Ziema was, but he never made it
Steve
to the
Ziema.
meetings. He never came to the meeting, so he wasn't there the
How
majority
long
of the
ago
time.
was that?
He was appointed when I was in office, so I don't know. Yes, he did participate, but he wasn't appointed until very late. So,
I think they quit when,
what?
I think they quit, and then the other two were appointed to fill that term until in December, and then they were appointed for 2 more years.
Mike and John quit when the,
What, county zoning?
when it was voted to go with
County
county
zoning,
zoning. They
yeah.
just abruptly just left.
Mhm.
So,
Thanks for coming.
So what do we need to do here? We're gonna sit here all night.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to wait until Tom is here so he gets a vote, he is a board member?
There's,
There's a quorum, so we can vote if the board wishes to recess, or not recess it, but to save it over till next month. That can also happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to get more information on these terms. You know, I guess I had a little concern turning over the entire land commission. You know, I could see, you know, because we should really stagger terms and have a little bit of consistency.
Well, they're supposed to be. If you go by your ordinances, they need to be staggered.
Right, so I guess we need to find out better information on when these people were appointed and what their terms are.
So in the June 8th, 2020 minutes, it says that there was a motion to reappoint Olson and Wyman to the Plan Commission. Steins and Friends, carried by voice vote.
When is that?
John?
What was the date?
June 8th, 2020.
20.
so there was no oath of office completed, so there's no paperwork in that clerk's office to show the records are very incomplete.
But those are on the minutes?
That's in the minutes, yeah.
Okay.
That's found on welcome-to-McMillan.com, if anyone's interested.
And they're supposed to be 3-year terms according to the ordinance.
Yeah, so then Bruce has
Bruce and
one more,
Dorothy,
Okay.
one more
till
year.
next year.
There again, you went to the attorney for this. How were you guided to move forward on this?
So I did type out minutes for you guys from our meeting with the attorney, and what the attorney, what the attorney stated is exactly what Rod said, is that you can add or remove plan commission members at your discretion. And then,
Did he say anything about terms? Following terms, or no?
no,
No, it's
You don't
it's
have to
totally
follow
at
terms.
discretion.
it's discretion of the board.
Did you tell them they were in our ordinances, what the terms were?
Well, he's got all those, he knows what those are.
I doubt it.
Maybe.
I guess I think it's bad precedent to set to remove people while they're in term without cause. If there's reason to remove people, I 100% support that. You know, if people aren't fulfilling their duties, they should not have those duties still. But otherwise, I don't think it's appropriate to remove people.
Yeah, I think just from trying to, you know, we need to try to work together, and I think we need to communicate better as a whole. And think if we turn over a lot of people, both on the board and on the planning commission, it's just gonna create, I think, another situation where people don't know, they haven't been exposed to all the rules and the ordinances and the guidelines, and I'm not sure that it would necessarily make things better. You know, I've been living in this township for almost 5 years, it'll be 5 years in August, and I took this position to try to help the community, and I'm concerned that we have too much fighting, and we need to try to bring people together. And I think if we change the whole planning commission, that sends the wrong message. I think we all have a responsibility in this to better communicate and work better together. That's my position.
I agree, Bob, 100%.
I mean,
Well said.
you got an ordinance, follow the ordinance, you got your terms in there. I think what the attorney was probably indicating to Rod, you know, if you got a problem with an individual or whatever, he can remove them, but I don't think, you know, wiping out the whole board and wanting to board.
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily the intent of that option and that flexibility. I think the intent was if someone, you know, has situations that you need to replace board members, you can do that.
Well, and due to the poor records, you know, like, I mean, if there was no records, I mean, I asked for the minutes from, I don't know, 2011, 2013, something forward. I received all of them except for 2019. As far as I'm concerned, there are 0 minutes for this body for all of 2019. I think that's a significant problem. Similar to this problem of, you know, if there was no oath of office, I would imagine that they would have to take the oath every time that they get reappointed. But to echo what Bob was saying, I think it's important to have somebody with institutional knowledge of the body, because they kind of know what's going on, they can kind of guide the new people. You know, I've been blessed to have people on this body that have been, you know, serving the town previously, to kind of, if I have questions, I can ask them, you know, how does this, what's the procedure with this, you know, how do I get stuff on the agenda, stuff like that. So I think that something like that is beneficial to have too, is just some institutional knowledge.
I have a question.
So we have, so here, and looking, so if we go by anything about what we have here, we have Deb Davis, that was 21, you said, right?
Yes.
Yes. Kevin
21?
Kevin asked her if she wanted to stay on. She said yes.
Wait a
And
minute,
motion to
Dorothy.
second.
Wait a minute, Dorothy. It's okay. She said she didn't. She obviously did because she's on
Right.
now at 20 and 21. Okay, so then Carla and Dennis, you were both appointed in December of 19. Do you want to continue to stay till December, or what are your feelings? Or is
I'm here.
you're here?
I'm here.
Carla isn't. Hi. Yeah.
I guess at this point, I'm thinking of resigning my position at September. I'm done in September.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, you are?
I'm done in September.
Okay,
So-
okay, all right. So there we go.
So,
And, but we don't, and so Carla, was she appointed at the same time?
no, she was November, I think.
Okay. So I'm wondering if, I don't know how she feels. So Dennis,
My term, I would have the September meeting yet. And then somebody could start in October, I guess, or however
okay,
you
but
do
you were
that.
gonna resign, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When are you gonna resign? No, at that time?
Well, at the end of my term.
Okay.
Maybe not, maybe
Just-
not.
Ten. Well, that's what he said, he was already planning on that, so, anyway, so that's 10. So, in October. Did you say September? September or October? What did you say?
September is the end of my term.
Okay, so
The
nine.
last meeting in September, which
Okay.
would ever be, whatever that would be.
Okay, so in September,
Yes, correct.
we can appoint a new member for Dennis Frank. And then you can check on Carla and see she's in November. and see if she wants to stay till that time also. So then you've got, well, we still got a problem here because we got,
Dennis and
one
Carla
other
this year.
And so, Dorothy, you were in 20,
Correct.
so.
Yeah, so Bruce and Dorothy would be in 23.
Mhm.
So that would be 2 this year and 2 next year.
Yeah. So, okay. Is that the way you wanna go?
I'd say we table it the next meeting, but I think that makes sense. That we would do 2 this year and 2 next year.
Mm-hmm. So do it at the next meeting. Get it done.
I would agree unless there's cause to remove people, and I think that should be brought up at the next one, and then that can be presented and evaluated, I guess, you know.
Well, and their terms are up, by then that is Rod's discretion. So, and it looks like those two, definitely. So we will table that until next week, next month.
My question on it though is if you're gonna go, if that's their term, then would we not do it in September and November then?
Yeah.
If they're doing both in November, there'd be no reason to appoint someone to replace them until, I mean, if that's what.
Okay.
Now with the facts that are coming out, if we're gonna go with those facts, you should not be replacing someone while they're still in. It should be tabled until then.
You might want to ask her too if she's still interested in staying on.
I think it would be the polite thing to ask
Yeah.
if they wanna, you know.
Yeah, well, you would consider
And
X, right?
Yes, well, no, I mean Carla.
Yeah.
Carla, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, as
Exactly.
a board though, we still would need to
Yeah.
maybe approve her
Yeah.
and move it on no matter what happens.
Yeah.
But that's when it should be addressed at that time,
But
not.
I think it's also important to get some new people in there and cycle people through, you know, because if you have the same people over and over and over, like, if I wanted to serve on the plan commission, but nobody wants to advocate their position, like, that's not fair to me as a resident. I should have equal right as anyone else to serve the town in that capacity. So I think that, you know.
Term limits?
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. You know, I think that term limits are good in pretty much any situation because.
Yeah.
If you can find people who are willing to volunteer.
Yeah, well, that's another thing, yes.
Are they required to give you a letter of resignation? See, I didn't, like, when I was on the board, supposedly I'm supposed to tell them, give them a letter that I don't plan on
No.
running again.
No, because, no, it's an appointment, so it's not. Okay.
Elected position might be slightly different.
An elected position, if you're not planning on running, there's a form in December that you should be filling out. Either that or you just sit in January and not accept the
We
nomination.
don't have to do it, so make that for the September meeting. Okay.
Clerk appointment?
So,
Thank you, C. Havers.
Thank you.
You were very patient here.
I just have a recommendation to the board for the board's consideration. So I have a recommendation that the town appoint John Kokel as clerk for a 3-year term effective July 12th, 2022. John would have the authority to appoint deputy clerks as needed. The pay will be reduced. The deputy clerk pay will be reduced from the clerk's budget line item, and John would have the authority to manage that. And then further recommend that I would step back as a deputy clerk for the next 30 days to assist with training and the upcoming election.
Are you willing?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint John Cook with what all you said.
I have a question. Are you gonna be able to fill the 2 days in the office a week?
No, I've negotiated a 1 day, 3 to 6 on Wednesday.
Okay, because I mean, on your specs put it out there that they wanted 2 days.
Yeah, there were no other applicants.
Seriously.
I've also committed to be available by appointment. People can reach me, I'll be very responsive. And also, you know, let's say that I get flooded with people coming to my office on Wednesdays from 3 to 6. I'm also open to adding in additional hours that the town residents might need be available.
Can you serve on the board and
No.
the clerk position?
No.
No, if this gets approved, I will be resigning tonight.
Well, you should be able to get your computer anyhow, so.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to accept John as the new clerk. Any further discussion on that?
Are you sure?
That's what I said to him.
Yeah, I signed up to serve the town and make information available to the town residents, and I can do that from here, or I can do that as the clerk, and I feel like there's no other options for clerk. I'm competent enough to serve as clerk. I'm willing to learn the stuff that I don't know. Tanya's offered to help me learn. So I signed up to serve, so that's what I'm going to do, serve.
Okay.
Roll call vote?
Roll call? Okay. John?
Abstain?
Okay, Carolyn?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Thank you very much. Oh, God.
The last thing on the agenda tonight was the board approved, or a board member approved appointment. At this time, I do not have anyone that has stepped up to, there's several people that are thinking about it, but no one has stepped up and said that they would. So I'd like to table that until that individual comes forward or next month.
Or sooner if somebody comes.
If somebody comes forward, then, I mean, there may be a special meeting, but otherwise it would be next Thursday.
Thank you.
I second it. I second it.
You know
I
what?
have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I can get checks signed by 2 people, and then I'll sign them, that will be.
We did.
Who votes or what?
The checks?
No, we did that.
Yes, we did.
That was our last night.
It's time for you to adjourn. You are adjourned.
Huh?
My daughter, we have to get it.
Yes. No, there needs to be 3 signatures. You can do that. Yeah, I mean, she signs up for napkins.
I'll get right on that.
Everybody sign underneath those. That's why there's 3 signatures. 2 other signatures.